Oh baby, Sexy September is back on Film Seizure. This year, the guys are looking at the 4 movies that make up the seductively sensual Poison Ivy series. This week, we meet Ivy herself and discover her seductive charms in the very first movie in the series. Slip on those headphones, my darlings, and let's get sexy with the guys at Film Seizure as they discuss Poison Ivy from 1992.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Film Seizure. I am Jeff Arbuckle.
I am Jason Oliver.
And we have made it another year to Sexy September.
Sexy September rides again.
Oh, God. That sounds so dirty.
So dirty.
And this movie is a little dirty. We'll be getting into that.
This is a pretty dirty movie. What are we doing for Sexy September, Jeff?
We are doing the Poison Ivy series.
Oh, we're doing them.
We are doing
We're
them.
doing them.
So first and foremost, this is from the Scream Factory Shout release, the Poison Ivy collection, 4 films of seduction.
4 films of seduction.
And
I mean,
I'm seduced.
God bless you, Shout Factory, for
did it,
giving
man.
the people what they want.
Yes. Yeah.
All 4 films of seduction.
Yes. This is a little bit your fault.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna dive in.
You know, it's kind of like, here's the thing. You might call me an enabler on this,
However, I
But-
do have a history.
but it's a little bit like handing a recovering heroin addict a needle full of the sweet, sweet stuff, right? It didn't take that much of a push.
no. No. So allow me to explain. My blog, B Movie Enema, not once but twice has covered a Poison Ivy movie. Oddly enough, the odd-numbered movies. So this is my first. This is the first time I've talked about one of the even-numbered ones.
No, the
Odd-numbered
Odd-numbered
ones.
ones.
I've covered the even ones. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So, back in 2016, I was chugging along and I was thinking, one of these days, I'm going to get into that sweet, sweet mid-90s Alyssa Milano stuff. And sure enough, turns out her birthday is in December. So December of 2016, I did.
oh yeah, that was a whole Alyssa Milano month, wasn't
Yes. And so
it? It did Poison Ivy 2.
Poison Ivy 2 and Embrace of the Vampire was where I closed out.
Yeah.
I started with Double Dragon, the oddball
Oh,
of the
that's
month.
bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where she is just the object of her boyfriend at the time. What was his name? It was on Party of 5.
Oh,
Scott Wolf.
yes.
She was the object of his sexual desire, but was that was a bad movie. That's a shitty movie.
Double
man.
Dragon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then
Oh
I
yeah,
did-
look, the movie looks terrible.
Then
I don't know if
did-
I've ever seen it.
I can't remember which one I did second, which one I did third, but there were Confessions of Sorority Girls, which was a Deborah Hill produced remake of old 50s exploitation movies.
Oh, that's interesting.
She did a whole series for Showtime, and it was her and Jamie Luner, and they that was pretty good. I liked it. Still own that on the Amazon Digital.
All right,
Yeah, I might
all
watch
right.
that again. And then I did Deadly Sins, which was her and oh god, is it David Keith? Which one's the white guy and which one's the black guy? David Keith or Keith David? David Keith is the white guy, right?
Yes, Keith
Okay.
David is
Yes,
from
is
the Thing.
from the
and
Thing, and
They Live. Yeah.
So anyway, Poison Ivy 2. I get a little weird in that, so I can say that I got weird on a potential maybe future senator of the state of California, maybe someday.
Wait, what?
She's good, I think, political.
Alyssa
aspiration.
Milano's?
Yeah,
Huh, man,
little,
yeah,
little bit. I mean, she's certainly an activist, obviously.
Well, anyone can get elected to anything these days. So.
We've proven that in
Yeah.
this country. So anyway, then several months later, I came back around to the Poison Ivy series and did the 4th movie, which is a bizarre little movie, which I can't wait to start talking about those. Anyway,
Well,
so
anyway,
I had a history.
and I saw the advertisement of Shout doing the Poison Ivy collection, 4 films of seduction, and I
There's
thought,
4 of them.
well, I know Jeff likes those movies,
I do like these movies.
and we do have a month of September every year. So why don't we maybe cover the Poison Ivy movies for Sexy September? And here we are.
And here we are. And I was like, yes. And I pre-ordered it moments after you showed me the link.
You did. You were like, this is the best idea that maybe I've ever had.
I agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. This is the best idea you've ever
I'm not
had.
sure I'm going to agree by the end of these 4 movies, but I dug my own grave.
Well, you dug your own grave, but okay.
I mean, I'm 100% positive I'm going to enjoy Poison Ivy 2. I mean, that's not a question. And we were saying before we kind of started this episode that these movies in a weird way are kind of beyond critical appreciation.
I've done it.
But these are these movies.
Like Ivy, you let this stuff happen to you.
Yeah. These movies sort of stand aside, not above, not even below, but stand aside from what you could apply any real true critical analysis to them, other than maybe some just technical competence.
Okay. I'm just gonna say it. I really like this first one too.
This movie is fine. I could take it or leave it. It's got,
Okay.
It's well made enough to the point where it feels like a pretty brisk 90 minutes. Things happen. Sexy stuff occurs. Tom Skerritt's ass.
Oh yeah, we get to see Tom Skerritt's bare ass.
It's fine. It's a one of a string of Fatal Attraction type Brian De Palma knockoff erotic thrillers that we had in the 90s. It's probably in the mid to top tier, I guess, of the 90s erotic thriller.
Yeah, in the sense that at least it was released theatrically.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, it's not any earth-shattering anything.
I don't know. I liked it.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
liked it.
well, it definitely shattered Jeff's earth in some places.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, well, okay. I'll set that context too. Okay, so in the early '90s, by '92 when this came out, I was watching like Siskel and Ebert and other movie shows. I think by then we had E on cable, so I would watch stuff like the Trailer Park Show or whatever it was called, where they just showed a half an hour of trailers.
Yeah.
I used to love it because it was always on.
I feel like this one was one that was advertised a lot on E-News.
It would have been because this movie kind of made more than a little splash for one main reason. So our star, Drew Barrymore, had gone through an interesting ride in the late 80s and early 90s.
Yeah.
Most people didn't know about that. At least most normal people. This was pre-internet, right? So it's like we didn't exactly know everything or all the gossip. But when the advertisement for Poison Ivy started, it was like, oh, this was the little girl that was in E.T. Because it's impossible to think of somebody growing up in celebrity terms, So you always hear, oh, this is the girl that was in E.T. Oh my God, can't you remember when she was this, cute little sister of Elliot, and now look at her, she's slut.
Oh, well, she's become synonymous with the idea of the child star gone bad, and the and sort of that idea of where were her parents, or look what the Hollywood machine can do to children, and then that bad girl image too of she's got all this privilege and opportunity, and she wastes it all on drugs and alcohol.
And then when you do see her, she's kind of sexed up when she was underage.
Yeah, but you kind of find out, at least from her autobiography, and I don't see any reason to to discount what she's said throughout her career, that she was exploited.
Yeah.
As a child actress,
Which,
and
I mean,
probably a lot of really disgusting ways.
Yeah, this was also probably around the start of the time that we began to realize that was really happening to a lot of, particularly
This was
little
probably
girls.
the peak of it.
Yeah, I mean, because shortly after that, then you hear about Dana Plato's problems, and then
I mean, stuff is still coming out
Oh, sure.
about that era of Hollywood and child exploitation.
yeah, and and it is gross.
But from the public's perspective, she's almost being exploited again by the media.
Yeah.
She's really trying to say, hey, this is what happened to me.
Right.
It's almost kind of like early kind of Me Too stuff, but even before the Harvey Weinstein and all of that, she's coming out and she's kind of saying, I was addicted to drugs and alcohol, and a normal 12-year-old that doesn't have that kind of opportunity, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is a lot of bad influences, adult bad influences in my life that have led me down this path.
Yeah.
But people become kind of like simultaneously judge her and also become sort of twistedly turned on by it, I think. And then this movie
yes.
comes out. Then this movie comes out, and it doesn't really do anything to discount any of that.
Now keep in mind,
it's like an exploitation embrace of it.
Yes. So also keep in mind, in 1992, I'm 15 years old.
Well, exactly. I'm 13.
And she's 17.
I'm 13, and all I see is sex on screen.
And all I see is I'm thinking about girls at my high school who bleach their hair,
right,
and dress a little too
and do
adult.
drugs and
yeah. I mean, yeah. So it's like, hot damn.
Yeah.
This is what's happening. I'm in.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, again, that's also with the blinders on of this is somebody that is basically my age.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's
for
enticing.
Me, she's quite literally the age of who my babysitters would be, right?
Right.
Who, so there's that whole thing.
Right. So yeah, it's really interesting to think about that whole how we perceive people, because that's something that's going to play a part in next week's episode too, because another child actress that is in a different place, and although, and we'll get to more about that later, it's a different situation with the star of our second
Who
movie.
are the kind of the teenage bad girls of the 90s? I feel like you got your Drew Barrymore, your Alyssa Milano, your Shannon Doherty.
Yeah.
Those were kind of the three,
the
big
main
three, right?
Yeah.
Those are the ones I always remember hearing about.
Because like,
And they've all matured into badass women. All three of them.
Yeah.
Like phenomenally cool,
Yeah.
well-adjusted, seemingly badass women.
Right.
Which is cool.
Right.
Yeah.
And because like by the later 90s, then that's when Rose McGowan came along.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think she had quite the staying power the other two or the other three had.
I don't think she quite had the profile.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, like those three would probably be the main ones, because like, I mean, I'm trying to think like, okay, well, there's like, who else was on Melrose Place? And it's like, well, yeah, but Heather Locklear was older.
Yeah.
And it's like she was already kind of at her. She had reached her peak, and these other ones were rising.
You could say that if for a second, Elizabeth Berkley tried to come.
Oh yeah.
But I think that was more manufactured than anything. Yeah.
It was. I mean, that was, how can we build in our own audience for showgirls?
Yeah.
I know one who became a bad girl by unfortunate circumstance. Rebecca Gayheart.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And her bad girl status came from an auto accident where I think she killed somebody.
Yeah.
But yeah, she could have. I mean, she was one of the good girls.
But
though.
she wasn't really, I don't think, a child actress either.
No, she was
like
a teen
the other
actress.
three were. Yeah, she was a model and
soap opera actress for a little while.
But I mean, all three. Well, Drew Barrymore wasn't on a sitcom, but she was obviously probably the most iconic young child actor.
Well, she was in the biggest movie of all time.
Yeah, right. E.T. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you've got Alyssa Milano, who was on Who's the Boss?
Making boys fall in love with
Samantha. She'll always be Samantha to me.
that's
Samantha.
fine.
Jonathan, Mona, Angela. Oh. I've probably talked about this before, but every time I used to watch Who's the Boss with my dad, we loved that show. We watched it when
it's
it
a great
aired.
show.
And every time the very first scene happened, I know for certain I've already said the story, but when Tony would dive into home plate,
Oh yeah,
during his softball game or whatever, that was part of the theme intro. The ball's clearly there, and my dad always said, "He's out!" Every time. He's out. Anyway, and then Shannon Doherty was on that Wilford Brimley show.
huh?
Yeah, she was a teenage a child actress on a sitcom.
But it was
Or was it a
90210 where
sitcom?
she was the big
Right, but
Yeah,
before
okay.
that even she was
What Wilford Brimley
on
show?
Our House or something like that
Oh, okay.
with
Oh.
Wilford Brimley.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of vaguely remember the name of that show. Huh. Okay.
I watched that show, so I knew
Um,
her from that before 90210.
well, there were also the bad girls that were on Touched by an Angel. Those girls were party animals. No, I don't know.
Yeah, Our House. Look at this, man.
All right. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There she
Yeah.
is. Yeah. Now, one question that I typically have, and yes, we're going to talk about the movie Poison
Chad
Ivy here.
Allen was in that show.
Oh, nice.
Remember Chad Allen?
And we'll get to actually talking about the movie here in just a moment. But I often wonder, because whenever you see anything that talks about like the behind the scenes of like the Halloween 4 and 5, like Danielle Harris is going to parties with people who should not be having a 10-year-old girl at those parties. And I've often wondered, did she kind of get Drew Barrymore also?
Wait, who?
Danielle Harris
Oh,
on the Halloween
from
4
the
and
Halloween
5.
4 and 5.
Because she's like hanging out with adults at like parties where there's clearly alcohol and drugs.
Those Halloween movies in the 90s that were made in the 90s, 4 and 5. I mean,
Well, those are 80s.
4?
88 and 89.
Oh shit. Well, close enough. That was the peak of probably the, I don't know, peak of something.
I mean,
The Coke party.
Yeah, but I mean, like she clearly came out the other end like well adjusted, and maybe they did honestly take care of her. But like,
I don't think most people would place Danielle Harris though if you said the name, like they would place any of those other three.
oh no, I was just saying like she constantly talks about going to all the adult parties behind the scenes, and it's like, but isn't that kind of like what happened to Drew Barrymore? I mean,
most definitely.
so I mean that's why I wonder that. It's like I wasn't trying to place her as one of the stars of the 90s because she was not. Although, hey, let's bring it back around to Poison Ivy. She was on Roseanne.
Oh, weird.
She was the girl who was competing for Johnny Galecki with Sarah Gilbert.
Huh. All right.
Our sort of
Our sort of lead.
our sort of lead,
co-lead.
but a co-lead of this movie.
She's our storyteller.
yes. All right. So
Yeah. So I guess the movie.
yeah, so it starts with a pretty nice shot of Drew Barrymore just enjoying this rope swing, and Sarah Gilbert narrating like her diary.
Yeah.
She's writing about Ivy.
in her diary, which is like a notepad.
Yes, and she calls her Skangy. So
Yeah.
is that a regional term?
Skangy. I don't even
Because
how do you even
I
spell
just,
that?
I spelled it Skangy. I assume that it's probably a regional term, kind of like how the North has their scotch, like just a scotch, or something like that. But so she's fixating on the fact that Ivy is.
I can't even find it. Like in a search.
It was used twice in the movie. But anyway, she's kind of fixating on Ivy being so carefree, swinging on this vine. Kind of.
I
She's
feel
got
like
her,
it's a variation of skank.
yeah, probably.
You know,
Yeah, I think you're now fixating on the word that was used to fixate on Ivy.
like maybe it should have been skanky, but it's regionally skangy, or maybe someone just mispronounced it. I don't know.
Or maybe they mistyped it.
Yeah.
It's like they, it's like use the spell correct, people. But anyway, so she's like talking about like how Ivy clearly doesn't care what people think of her. Most people think that she's probably easy. She's got her skirt hiked up so that she could ride the ropes swing. So clearly that probably means she's easy. She basically, like, constantly in this movie, Sarah Gilbert's slut shaming Ivy.
I wonder if I called Way with Words, if they would, if I told them, so in the movie Poison Ivy, it's used twice in reference to Drew Barrymore, the word skangy. What can you tell me about that word? And then they could talk academically about the origins of the word skangy.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Well, how do we do that?
I think you just email the Way with Words.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Could they have a database? Maybe they've already
Maybe.
fielded the question.
Maybe
We're gonna get to the bottom of this.
We're gonna get to the bottom of it. You are far more interested in skangy, where you should be far more interested in Drew Barrymore.
Fair enough.
So we find out. So it's like she seems oddly attracted to Ivy, and we kind of find out why a little bit later. But the next time, or the next scene, we find out that Sarah Gilbert's in some trouble for calling in a bomb threat to her to her dad's television station, because a guy that we find out is her dad did an editorial piece saying that he thinks the teenagers should not be allowed to drive.
And his reason, which he promptly proves, is that they are not emotionally stable enough until they're 21 to drive a vehicle.
Yes. So she calls in a bomb threat.
It seems perfectly reasonable reaction. Yeah.
Ivy's in a little bit of trouble because
it's to driving.
Yes.
It's not,
What?
access to birth control.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Chekhov's driving. That pays off.
That does pay off. Holy shit. Holy shit. Cachet's a genius. Yeah, the fucking oxygen tank did not pay off, which I am really upset about.
It was a red herring.
Yeah.
But let's get back on track.
That goddamn balcony did way more damage than the oxygen tanks did. Maybe they.
That balcony killed 2 people.
I feel like maybe they just didn't have the budget for an oxygen tank explosion, because it could have been very easily done.
I think this is art. I don't think
you're telling me you can't have an oxygen explosion in a art film?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm telling you.
I don't agree. I don't agree. I'm gonna either find one or make sure one happens.
If you make sure,
if I ever produce a movie like that's sort of artsy fartsy weird beard, I will. My only note when they turn it in will be, it needs an oxygen tank explosion.
Figure it out.
Figure it out.
Figure it out, French movie man. So Ivy's in a little bit of trouble because they're at this private school, which at first I thought the private school was for delinquents, because they're kind of in this small school and they're asking what they've done to be in trouble.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, is this for delinquents or whatever? No.
But they both got in trouble.
Simultaneously, they're in some sense of trouble.
But it makes no sense.
Well,
they're
but
not at the principal's office.
Well, they kind of are.
But
I think they're in the waiting room outside the principal's office.
So she's there.
She's waiting for her dad.
Yeah, but Drew Barrymore's in trouble because of her grades.
She's slipping in chemistry,
and
she's
Sarah Gilbert is just waiting for her dad.
Right.
Yeah.
And Sarah Gilbert is. This is one thing I feel like was not as well played up as it could have been, but Sarah Gilbert is a rich kid, so she's got it easy peasy. She's in school.
Well, she also kind of looks against type as well. She doesn't. She usually, the rich girl in these kind of movies has a bunch of rich friends, and they're all very sort of vapid. But
Right.
she's more introspective. She's a little bit more creative.
She's definitely a gothy nerd.
Yeah, but she's also a rich girl. Usually that character is either the vapid sort of popular girl,
Yeah.
or she's poor.
Yeah, and I do kind of like what they do with how they play her character.
Well, she's the most developed character.
Oh, absolutely.
Um,
Because she's got her own issues because she is so much unlike her parents.
Yeah.
And we find out that her parents have problems of their own. But Drew Barrymore, on the other hand, is the poor girl
yeah,
who is there on a scholarship, which means she's really smart,
yeah.
which I don't think they do enough to play up her smartness.
I don't either.
Instead, they play up her manipulation. If we would have found out...
They're, in a lot of ways, they're kind of one and the same because
yeah, but they play up the... Like, if we'd have found out
but
that
they don't
she
necessarily play up her
manipu-
intellect. They
Right.
play up her ability to psychologically process people
Right.
and use that against them.
Right, which I think
Which
that,
I guess I just define manipulation, but
right, but I mean, but like, if we would have found out that her intelligence is also a manipulation,
yeah.
that she really isn't that smart, but she fucked her principal at the other school or something, or whatever.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
if something like, even just as dumb and simple as that,
I agree.
would have at least said, "Oh, well, she's a manipulative person."
Right.
But whatever. So
Well, if you want to take just a couple more minutes on her,
yeah.
um,
Because we get a lot of her very quickly and very simply put to us.
and we don't get really anything of substance. We don't really know about her home life other than
But we know that what we do get is we're interested in her.
well, she's
Probably because of, I mean,
she's charming, she's sexy.
pretty. Yeah.
She
You said sexy,
she
I said
seems
pretty.
she
what
seems
the fuck happened here?
Yeah, I don't know. She seems to kind of be that form of emotional vampire that will
Yeah.
give you what you need rather than take it, or at least not take it away right away.
Yeah.
She's kind of like, she knows how to be everybody's best friend, which nobody usually responds poorly to that. She's just very tuned into what you need particularly, and then she's like gives it to you, but then knows that she's got you.
Yeah. Well, and
It's
what
like
would be
it's like the Venus flytrap
right, and what would have been okay. So maybe
or poison ivy.
Oh, we're going to talk.
there's
about her
metaphors
name in a minute.
here. There's
Yeah,
metaphors.
Okay. So the other thing also, it's like if there. I mean, okay. I think we're just
But
meant to see her as being just very surface. You only see her on the surface,
Right, which
What
is where
would
I
be-
kind of agree with you. I kind of wish we had a little bit more about her.
Either find out that her intelligence is a manipulation, or you find out that she's been emotionally damaged herself from her home life, which then if she has emotional scarring, then that would amp up her ability to manipulate
you don't
other
really
people.
get to know
I
any
know
of
people
any
like
of her
that.
secrets,
Right.
which is kind of for 3/4 of the movie. That's enticing. That's sort of you're curious and you want to know more. It's like, what is this deal with her? Like, why are her motivations the way they are? And none of it pays off ever. The only thing you get is one bit of speculation at the end of the movie by Sarah Gilbert, which is it's not very satisfying.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, I can kind of buy into it because it's like, oh yeah, you did that because you just tried to do the same thing to me, or at least you're trying to screw me over to get what you want.
I mean, you
You're-
know
you're
what she
kind of-
wants, but you don't know why.
Yeah, right, and yeah, I mean, just spend a couple of minutes telling us why.
Yeah.
Is it? I mean, even if it's just as simple as, yeah, she's beaten at home. Here, she feels like
Yeah.
she's wanted.
It's kind of like the opposite of a movie that we both really liked that we did last year, Exotica.
Oh yeah,
Right? It's different in that you have this this sympathetic character that you don't know a lot about that is very important to a lot of these different people's lives, and then you find out at the end of the movie sort of her tragedy,
yes,
right?
and how she helps another person's tragedy by doing basically nothing at all.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And
So it's a weird sort of, that movie's sort of a weird inverse of this.
right, where you have a
in its
symbiotic
themes.
sort of thing, whereas this is kind of anti-symbiotic.
Yeah.
It's all for one person. It's narcissism.
Which is where I think it doesn't even stand in the same league as Exotica as a film.
Exotica is a whole different beast.
Right.
The fact that we even
there's only
included
one
it-
thing that would make Exotica better, and that would be an oxygen tank explosion.
that was a movie that could have had it in post-production where it's like, oh, we need to find a way to sell this. We need an explosion in the trailer.
I shit you not, dear listeners. I liked Exotica so much that after we watched it and we recorded our episode, I bought it on Blu-ray and I watched it again as soon as I got it in the mail, like 2 or 3 days later. And I've watched it at least twice since. It is a wonderful movie.
Yeah, no, it is. It's fantastic.
But anyway, I digress.
So there's a little bit of banter back and forth. Ivy has this cross on her thigh that's got ivy wrapped around it, and so and she also has a nose ring.
Oh yeah,
and which is both of those things were so not normal in 1992.
No.
Like, it's hard to believe how unnormal tattoos used to be when you and I both have one.
And facial piercings. Like,
Yeah,
she's got
this
a
is
hole in
the
her nose.
norm
She
these
must be trash.
She
right?
must be trouble.
Or trouble.
Not
yeah.
necessarily trash. She's trouble.
And those two things are not are they just completely normal and ubiquitous in the world today, but they're normal and ubiquitous in the workplace.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah. No, it used to. There's a hilarious. I think it's a Progressive commercial. It's the commercials where, like, oh, these people have this insurance and they're acting like their fathers or they're acting like their parents. And, there's this couple talking about moving into this new neighborhood. And the woman has, like, the woman that's in this commercial has a tattoo on her ankle or something. And this lady who now, because she has Progressive insurance, is acting like her mom. It's like, oh, you have a tattoo. Do you not work? That cracks me up every time I see it.
Yeah.
Because that's the way it was.
Uh-huh.
If you had a visible tattoo, good luck trying to get any kind of professional job.
Yeah.
And now there are people with full sleeves,
Yeah.
with face tattoos, like working in, like, well, probably not like.
Face tattoos are really the final frontier.
It is kind of the final frontier, but it's not that far off.
It's really
depending on-
not.
because it's getting to the point now where, like, tattoos become very much a part of the person, right? Like, they're not just getting, like, a face tattoo is not necessarily a teardrop for killing a dude in a clink.
I do
It's-
sort of feel, though, like if you have a face tattoo nowadays, you're probably a YouTube rapper with Lil before your name. Like Lil Xan, Lil Peep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or a guy who named himself after my all-time favorite basketball player and his common move to get open, Post Malone.
Oh, God, yeah.
I
Post
fucking
Malone.
hate that guy.
Yeah,
Anyway,
he started as a YouTube rapper.
I'm not surprised.
Yep.
Anyway, we're on YouTube, and I'm going to get all my face tattoos.
Yeah, we're contemporaries with Post Malone.
Anyway, but no, so she's got this tattoo, and, like, Sarah Gilbert's, like, into it. She's like, oh, that's cool. Did that hurt? You find out later it's just a fake tattoo.
Yeah.
But it's part of Ivy's identity. So much so, and we're going to talk about this a lot when we get to episode number 3 of this month. She talks about how the cross represents death to her and the ivy represents life. So it's kind of a back and forth. So Tom Skerritt, who is Sarah Gilbert's dad, comes to pick her up, and Ivy comes up and says, "Hey, I missed my ride. Do you mind if somebody, can you take me to such and such place?" And Tom Skerritt's like, "No." Because he's pissed because Sarah Gilbert is a little terrorist and called in a bomb threat at his station, and it might get him fired, he says. So then, but, like, Sarah Gilbert's like, "Dad, that's my best friend." They just met. other than some diary scribbles about her. They've just met, and so he's like, "Well, what's her name?" And Sarah Gilbert doesn't know.
even know. Yeah.
We don't even know. She just looks at Ivy's leg, which I would too. Sees the Ivy, and it's like, "Oh, her name's Ivy." This is real important because for the rest of all time, she is Ivy.
Yeah. But it's not even her own name.
It's not even a real name. To be continued in 2 weeks. We'll talk about that some more.
Oh yeah, and it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So
yeah. All right, but I think it's important. There's like that Sarah Gilbert, she is sort of infatuated with Drew Barrymore. She even to the point where she even questions for a moment her sexuality and thinks maybe I'm lesbian, maybe I have feelings for her, and then she sort of checks that. She's like, no, I don't think that's really what it is. But she has this.
There's an undeniable draw to this black hole of a person that is this super massive person that is Ivy.
That's what it is. She is a black hole.
She's the center of a galaxy. Which is basically wherever she is.
Yeah.
She becomes the center.
And she's fascinated by her, and she wants to be a friend, and she doesn't have many friends.
She doesn't have any friends.
She's lonely. She's unhappy at home.
She's a rebel, and she sees Ivy as a rebel, at least outwardly a rebel, whereas she's introvertedly a rebel.
Right. So they probably have very similar emotional states. But they
that's kind of summed up also at the end too.
But they're what they go about, how they go about filling the holes in their lives are very different things.
Right. Sarah Gilbert's character Sylvie is her name. I most of my notes call her Sarah Gilbert, but it's Sylvie. She is what she wants. The way her rebellion works is I think she has these delusions of grandeur that her rebellions will help others, whereas Ivy's rebellions are all about her.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're two sides of a coin. Really.
Like Sarah Gilbert is selfish in her way, but she seems empathetic towards others.
Yes.
She has that's different. She has empathy, and Ivy does not.
Ivy just has a sex drive that must be fulfilled.
Well, I don't know about that.
Well, but maybe.
But maybe. she has a big hole inside of her that yeah. Shit.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get too psychological with this shit. It's really just.
I'm just going to talk about that sex.
It's really just a De Palma knockoff. Yeah. But
no, there is an attempt here to try some things because there are messages that are attempted.
Sure.
Throughout this, I mean, so what you find out is that the reason why Sarah Gilbert's so lonely in her world and why she acts out the way that she does is that her mom is dying of emphysema.
Seemingly,
it's Cheryl Ladd. It's hard to tell what she's dying of.
She does not look sick.
No.
She looks like Cheryl
good.
Ladd.
She looks good.
She looks good.
She looks like one of the angels.
Yeah.
No, I
didn't even think about that. Yeah. That there's two of Charlie's Angels are in this movie. Huh.
Oh, I bet they shared notes after. It's like, hey,
I'm sure.
Hey, in about 9-12 years, can I get in on this?
I mean, you'd argue that Charlie's Angels is what made Drew Barrymore a star again.
Oh, she was real popular in the 90s.
But she hadn't had any like huge hits.
Well, Never Been Kissed, 50 First Dates, those were all before.
All right, well, I'll go get back to you on this.
Okay. No, she had a good run in the 90s of at least movies that became either hits or cult hits. But anyway, so she and her dad, Tom Skerritt, is a recovering alcoholic. And because of...
Oh, I guess you're right. Charlie's Angels was a little later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was when she kind of flexed her producing muscle.
You're right. She had a really big string. I, for some reason, thought Charlie's Angels was in the 90s, but no.
She was big enough to get a cameo in Batman Forever. Her and Vivica A. Fox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, she had a real nice run, especially in the late 90s. Never Been Kissed. That's one movie.
Oh, no.
That's a movie that is all sorts of inappropriate nowadays.
Yeah, well. 20 years ago it was cute.
Yeah.
Kids. It was. Anyway, Ever After was another big one.
Yeah.
That was a big one.
That was a big one.
Anyway.
And then, of course, the Adam Sandler movies she was in.
Yeah, 51st Dates was
And Wedding
huge.
Singer.
And Wedding Singer was
Yeah.
huge. Anyway, yeah, Wedding Singer is a movie that people still reference today.
Yeah.
And that's over 20 years old.
So yeah, I stand corrected on this.
No, it was
Her early
after that, she
early
became a
90s were
producer.
not so much. Late 90s she started.
And then
to
she
really,
became a producer,
Yep.
and then Charlie's Angels kind of flexed that muscle a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
That and Donnie Darko, oddly enough, which we just talked about.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's like there's a sense at home that there's just sadness for Sarah Gilbert, right? Like her mom's dying, but she's also trying to be kind of a mom when Sarah Gilbert kind of feels like you don't there's indignation towards her mom's illness, which I think is fair for a lot of middle teen kids, 14, 15-year-old kids who just, I mean, her mom is Cheryl Ladd.
Yeah.
And she's Sarah Gilbert. I mean, no offense, but I mean, like, yeah, at a party, she even mentions at a party, everybody looked at her mom.
Mm-hmm.
If her mom wasn't around anymore, she'd get her chance.
She definitely got more of the Tom Skerritt gene pool.
Well, let's talk about what she thinks her gene pool, or what she tells Ivy
That's
her gene pool
so
is.
weird.
So,
And apparently
to try
this is
to-
something that she's told a lot of people
right.
because her
so
mom knows this
her
lie
mom calls her out on a couple of lies that she
tells
people, and in particular that we hear her tell Ivy to try to befriend this kind of mysterious person. First, she says she tried to slit her wrist.
Yeah.
When in fact it was just a plain old accident.
Right. She has got a scar on her wrist that she
Yeah.
shows people. She says she tried to slit her wrist, but really she just walked through a glass
door.
door. Yeah.
Yeah. That's something that if you say that in the nurse's office today, it's like, oh, we're going to call Child Protection Services.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, then she says, my dad is not even my dad. I'm adopted by him. My mom's my real mom, but my hair is so curly because my dad's black.
Yeah. Yeah.
She is super white.
Yeah. If you, I'm sure all of you have seen Sarah Gilbert in something, probably Roseanne. She is.
Even more so. Big Bang Theory.
Big Bang Theory. God, yeah. Geez. Yeah. There's nothing in her gene pool that is remotely whiter than Welsh or blacker than Welsh. Yeah.
Blacker than a black Russian.
Yeah. I mean, God. Good luck with that story, Sarah Gilbert.
Yeah. So, but anyway, Ivy's like,
And
yeah,
not
whatever.
Sarah Gilbert, her character.
Yeah, Sylvie. But like, she's like, yeah, okay, whatever. And like Ivy just kind of doesn't even respond to it, really. But she wants to know more about her family, and that's how she kind of worms her way in. Is that she's found a mark, basically, in somebody who's so desperate to have a friend that she would befriend the skangy girl on the rope swing
Right.
with her skirt hiked up. I would too. I would too.
And she sees opportunity after opportunity to further embed herself into this family dynamic that she's obviously craving.
There's another thing that she does constantly. When she hitches a ride, she says that she gets motion sickness if she's in the backseat. I don't even know if that's a thing. Right. I know I get motion sickness if I try to read while I'm riding. It's
probably a thing to the point where if you can't see yourself moving, right? So in the backseat, it's more difficult. Your field of vision is more blocked, and you don't see the motion that you're in. That's why reading it causes motion sickness, because you're in motion, but your brain, you've tricked your brain into thinking that you're looking at something that's not in motion. So it's that disconnect that gives you that feeling, that sickness feeling.
Okay.
Which is why like on big boats too, that can happen, because you're down in the galley of this huge cruise ship, and it doesn't seem like you're moving, but you're fucking moving, and your brain gets confused.
But it's the motion that gives you.
It's the disconnect between the actual motion that you're in and your brain not thinking that you are.
But seasickness is from the other side, like the other axis, right?
It depends.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I think there may be levels and differences, but it's basically the same thing. Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
So yeah, I buy that.
Okay,
but
so
it's still probably a lie.
Yeah. So she basically, like, when she gets that ride from Tom Skerritt, she's like, "I've got motion sickness. Do you mind getting in the back seat, Sarah Gilbert?" And Sarah Gilbert's like, "Okay."
But she's already calculating.
Well, she's showing off her cleavage to Tom Skerritt, and Tom Skerritt's taking the bait.
Not only that, but she already knows that Sarah Gilbert doesn't like her dad. Sylvie doesn't like her dad, and she's like, "Well, I can play on that."
Yeah.
Right? She's calculating.
Right.
Immediately.
And so, like, she's in the front seat. She gives all sorts of, like, weird, like, facial not weird, but, like, facial expressions that's very playful. She's very friendly to Tom Skerritt. She's sort
of playing this innocent sexiness.
Yes,
right.
And she's like, she always wears skirts that are kind of short, so they're kind of hiked when she sits down all the time. She's making sure he's seeing these things.
Yeah.
And then she's just being very fun and playful and whatever. So like, she's in.
This is the first of 4 seductions.
Oh boy.
Because
but there's a million seductions in this movie.
Yeah. What's true? They're
each one has a bunch of seductions.
And what's interesting is this, maybe interesting, I don't know. It's pretty on the nose too, but she seduces all 3, Tom Skerritt, Cheryl Ladd, and Sarah Gilbert, in different ways. There's levels of seduction. There are different types of seduction.
Right. So the next person,
she even seduces the dog.
Yeah. So there's Cheryl Ladd.
But it's not that kind of movie, guys.
Damn it.
Oh, you want to see that kind of movie?
Well, we know somebody who would. No, but no. So next is Cheryl Ladd, and Cheryl Ladd is kind of like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you told her that you slit your wrist. Would you also tell her that your dad's black?" Yeah. Basically, it's like, yeah, these are the things that my daughter tells people, that if you have to lie to somebody to get them to like you, you don't want them to like you. That's a great message for high school kids.
Yeah, but also Sylvie is she's so either uncomfortable with her wealth or with her station in life, or just uncomfortable with herself.
Yeah.
She doesn't know who she is or happy about who she is.
Well, you see the way that she dresses.
That she feels like she has to lie to people to tell them what they think would be interesting about her that would make them like her.
Yes. Because, like,
and I think most adolescent teens can identify with that to some degree.
Especially people who fall into the majority of plain.
Yeah.
That most people are plain.
Yeah.
Sorry. There are very few very ugly people and very few very pretty people.
But she is really trying to play. She's almost more manipulative in their friendship in the beginning stages than Ivy is.
But Ivy can sit and wait.
But Ivy's a hell of a lot better at it. Yeah.
And she has patience to play this out.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, it's kind of like you're playing poker, right?"
But Sylvie's kind of like, "Oh, I actually think that she is my friend," so she starts telling her the truth. Right?
Yes.
And then that's when Ivy knows I've got her.
Yeah, it's like, got it. So the next person is, so when she starts talking to Cheryl Ladd, she is very sweet and very kind to her and very
she makes her cry.
Yeah.
She tells her like so empathetic seemingly to her life and what Cheryl Ladd's life used to be, right? And really kind of telling her, commiserating with her in a way that seems so sweet and kind that it makes Cheryl Ladd cry in her bed, and within 10 minutes of meeting her.
Right. And so the
hooked.
Yep. So what you have here is you have Sarah Gilbert feeling like she's something special for the first time in her life.
Yep.
That what she originally thinks is kind of a slutty girl turns out to be something that she sees as something more beautiful, because she is so different and special than she's used to. And there's constant reference that Drew Barrymore is what Cheryl Ladd looked like when she was younger.
Yes.
Which then gives Tom Skerritt his sex drive back.
Uh-huh.
But what she gives Cheryl Ladd is a daughter.
Yep.
A daughter who's not just going to say snide things to her in her teenage rebellion. So that's how you get that triumvirate of that seduction there.
Yeah. What is interesting to me, though, is that you would think that, in a way, the target of Poison Ivy's violence would be Sarah Gilbert, Sylvie. She'd almost like want her out of the way so that she could have this loving, doting mom.
Well, this is her,
and so
this
that
is
she
her
could have
failing.
this affair with the dad. You know, but she really is just opportunistic. She's like, okay, well, I'm in a situation now that I can use.
I can use everyone here.
So yeah,
But
she
she
doesn't really have, like, I don't think, an overarching plan.
Right, because her failing is she doesn't get rid of Sylvie.
Right.
Ultimately, she tries to make it seem like she will just replace Sylvie's mom, and they will be a family.
Yeah, and she's
but Sylvie
right.
doesn't want that.
Right.
Yes, she rebels against her mom, and she's jealous of her mom, and she's almost angry at her mom for getting the extra attention of being sick or just not dying. All of that those are all surface things. Like underneath that, she still loves her mom. You know, like she talks about.
Well,
that.
she says that. Yeah.
She says it.
Yeah.
In fact,
To the wrong person.
true. Which then she tries to use it.
Uh-huh.
But then mom doesn't make out with their children's.
True.
They don't tongue kiss.
That's true.
But I'm glad they do tongue kiss.
So
Not moms, but these two.
yeah,
I'm into it.
that's a little bit of a
That's a crazy thing. So
yeah.
all right. So really, a majority of this movie,
I almost got this movie for that second conflated with the movie I watched last night.
City Dragon.
I watched The Corruption of Chris Miller last night.
Oh, okay.
Which is a very interesting movie, and it deals in some similar themes of manipulation and seduction, with sort of the roles twisted around and reversed. But anyway, yeah, I was trying to think, was there a scene where Drew Barrymore and Cheryl Ladd made out?
No.
And I was like, nope, that was
Yeah.
that was Corruption of Chris Miller.
We all lost the day that they said no, they're not going to make out.
There was a moment there I was like, wait a minute, that would work in this movie.
But I can tell you one thing that did happen in this movie. Drew Barrymore makes Cheryl Ladd pass out after a fistful of pain meds and a glass of champagne.
Yep.
And then has Cheryl Ladd's husband, a.k.a. Tom Skerritt,
Yep.
go down on her while she's sitting next to
Yeah.
Cheryl Ladd's sleeping body.
Yeah. It's a
It's a good scene.
it's a pretty hot scene.
This movie's pretty hot in a lot of places. and again, okay, guys, I'm just gonna say this. Remember, Drew Barrymore is about my age, so it's okay for me to say that this girl who was 17 at the time this movie came out was in hot scenes.
Right.
Okay, everybody cool with that? Everybody agree? Good. We're moving forward.
I think more needs to be said.
Hey, Drew Barrymore, you're awesome.
It reminds me of right when we started the movie, we're presented with the classic choice of, would you like to watch the theatrical version or the unrated version?
I didn't know there was going to be a
who the fuck chooses the theatrical version?
Especially because you get to see some cigarette burn body double boobs.
That was the worst body double boob I've ever seen in my life.
You know who had the best body double boob?
Who?
Phoebe Cates from the movie Paradise. I also wrote about that movie during Phoebe Cates month.
Oh, of course you did a Phoebe Cates month. Paradise Alley?
Paradise.
Oh, that's
it was
like
with Willie Ames?
Yeah, that's a Blue Lagoon knockoff, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And she had a stunt double? A boob
Yeah,
double?
but she had bare ass in that too.
All right.
She was pissed about the bare ass. So was Willie Ames.
Did Brooke Shields have a double in Blue Lagoon?
Probably not.
I don't remember. She was young in that.
Yes. She did have a body double in Endless Love because she was like only 15 in that.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, we get to see I'm glad they cut that out of
It took me out of it, man.
theatrical.
I was like,
yeah, it's like, man, they're screwing on the top of this car in the rain, Drew Barrymore, Rain Soaked, is nice, real nice, and like she's like all out now. She's like all sexy now because she's starting to borrow Cheryl Ladd's clothes, and it's Cheryl Ladd. You know she's gonna have good clothes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, it's like she borrowed this really really nice gold dress to help serve drinks at this party that Tom Skerritt was having, and she was that was good. That was real good.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like, but yeah, so it's like he slides up that shirt, and it's like, oh, booby, but it's got like these weird bruises on it. It's like it's like,
yeah.
Did they just find like a hooker who has a real bad heroin problem?
It was bad. They looked like
They
bruises or cigarette burns.
This was the stuff that Paulie was concerned about Rocky doing to the hanging beef.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, it's a weird place to go. Okay. All right.
Oh, you bruised the beef.
I usually think something different when I think of hanging beef, but yeah.
No, we didn't get that shot.
Oh boy.
No, God.
Where are we going with this?
Where
Where do we go from here? I mean, it is Sexy September, but
yeah.
Jesus.
Well, boy, I know where we go from here in the next week. But where do we go from here right now? I don't know. Next week's going to get real weird, boys and girls. It's going to get real weird. I can already tell you right now, it's going to get real weird.
I'm afraid.
You should
I'm afraid. Send help. Send help, everyone.
There is no help here. Okay. So there have been mention that when Cheryl Ladd is on her pain pills, she often goes to the ledge of her balcony and almost seems like she's going to jump off, right? And kill herself in the pain, right? Not assisted suicide, just flat out suicide.
Yeah.
So Ivy uses that.
She's definitely in pain. Whether it's emphysema or whatever it is, it's probably more of depression.
Probably.
And that it's physically manifesting itself in some way that she's associating with a physical illness, and not the fact that she's lost her youth.
She's lost everything.
Although Cheryl,
no, she really hasn't.
You look beautiful. And she, yeah, I think it's depression.
Yeah, probably is. So, right, because, you know, her husband's not really paying much attention to her anymore. She catches Ivy and Tom Skerritt in a sexy dance, and then Ivy smooths that shit over. Yeah, surprisingly.
Well, it's a great excuse.
Right,
it's a great story. She's really good at telling people what they need to hear.
Yeah,
and what they want to believe.
Yeah, I think he was about to cry, so I let him hug me, or I hugged him, and I
look so much like you, and blah blah blah. Yeah. Yep.
That's smooth, man.
It's so smooth.
It's
smooth operator.
That could be Sexy September's theme song.
Smooth operator.
Nah, stop.
You don't like that?
No, stop.
Damn.
It's making me feel things I don't want to feel.
Shit.
It's Sexy September, everybody.
Jeff is confused.
Yeah, I am. I might be a lesbian. No. So
it's the L word.
Yeah.
Lesbians.
I said lesbian. Anyway, so Ivy sees Cheryl Ladd on the balcony, and she's talking to her and everything, and she just pushes her off the balcony, kills her, murders her.
She thinks about it, because there's a moment where she's holding on to her, where Cheryl Ladd maybe sort of slipped. It's really kind of
she pushed her.
Did she push her?
She flat out pushed her.
But she's holding her, and then she lets go.
She lets. It's just kind of, that was for dramatic effect.
All right.
Yeah, but she lets go, and Cheryl Ladd falls to her death, and she hides from Sarah Gilbert, who hears that her mom is playing a birthday a song that Sarah Gilbert wrote for her on the piano.
Right.
And so she's like looking for her, doesn't see her, doesn't see Ivy because Ivy hides. And so Ivy now basically has carte blanche to just move forward and usurp her, Cheryl Ladd's role. or she thinks at least. So
and she tries very hard to do it. It's creepy.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so eventually,
It's
what
like, talk
ends-
to me like I'm your mom. you know?
Yeah, so like she kind of wins over Sarah Gilbert a little bit. They've had some arguments here and there, like, and that's when like Sarah Gilbert in her anger will lash out and call her a slut or a skank or whatever word she uses.
But it's a
but
moment.
it's that rebellion in her that makes her lash out, because she lashes out at her dad and mom like that.
But there's
too.
a couple things. Like, she's starting to catch on.
Well,
And
later, but yeah.
But Ivy is she's starting to catch on to the little things,
Yeah.
like little manipulations.
Like that Ivy buys a bunch of clothes and gets a tattoo, gets the thing actually tattooed on her.
Yeah.
But Sarah Gilbert pays for everything.
Right, and she's starting to feel a little bit used, and she's starting to lash out a little bit about that. But then Drew Barrymore, Ivy always ends up saying the right thing, and Sarah
Usually
Gilbert
by
and
apologizing.
by apologizing, yeah. And Sarah Gilbert is so desperate
Yeah.
for a friend that
She doesn't have anything
that she
else.
keeps letting it slide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this leads to
It's like that friend. It's like an abusive relationship. Honestly,
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
It's codependent.
Yeah.
So it's so it becomes this situation where Ivy is like, okay, well, I can be your mom. Tell me what you would have told her, because Sarah Gilbert's like, there are things I wanted that I still wanted to say to her that I'll never get to say to her, and so tell me. And so she kind of lets it out. So she decides. So there's a car in the garage that's collecting dust. That was Cheryl Ladd's car that she can't drive anymore. Certainly can't drive anymore now that she's dead.
Yeah, that would be a requirement for driving. Would be having a living corpse, unless you're
Not.
unless you're Bernie from Weekend at Bernie's,
Was that one or two?
and
when
you've
he's
got a
driving around?
Jonathan Silverman to prop you
Yeah.
up.
So
I don't know. He probably drove them, both of them.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably figured out a way to
That's a big, of course, that's like a big comedy scene.
Yeah.
The dead body's going to drive the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sarah Gilbert decides to fix it, to clean it up, and kind of honor her mom with it. And so Ivy comes with the urn that Cheryl Ladd is in.
Huh, that's a different lad.
That's the mom.
Yeah.
So Cheryl Ladd's in the urn, and Ivy's like, "Let's go for a ride."
Yes.
Ivy doesn't know how to drive.
Nope.
She claims she knows how to drive when she used to have to pick her mom up,
I think she could
Blitz.
probably maybe drive a little bit.
but not a stick,
No.
because that was painful to
She
watch.
didn't know what she was doing.
Yep.
I wouldn't know what I was doing. I can get
I drive.
I can get a 5-speed into first, and that's it.
If we want to, if we ever want to go take Cheryl Ladd's ashes out for a joyride,
Teach you how to drive.
I'll do it. No, I'm gonna do it.
Teach me how to drive stick.
No, I'm gonna do it, because I can't be in the passenger seat if somebody doesn't know how to drive. Stick.
Go out to the parking lot and teach me how to drive stick, Dad.
With Cheryl Ladd's ashes next to us. All right, Jason. So you're gonna ease off the.
That would make a pretty funny little skit though. If we ever did like little Film Seizure promos for each episode, it would be one of you teaching me how to drive stick with an urn between us.
Right.
Yeah.
So so Ivy starts humming the song that Sarah Gilbert wrote for her mom.
Yeah.
And so Sarah Gilbert's like, "Where did you hear that song?" And like,
It's pretty fucking specific.
it's pretty specific.
Yep.
And Ivy can't tell her when or how. And she's like, "Well, she was playing that the day she died."
Did you see what happened? Were you there?
Right. And she's like, so Ivy becomes she slips here at this point and
sure.
becomes defensive.
She's been caught
yeah.
in a
And
way. She doesn't know how to get out of this one.
So this leads to a car accident
Mm-hmm.
in which Sarah Gilbert kind of almost goes through the window.
Yeah.
So she's got a big bad head wound,
Mm-hmm.
and Ivy's got bruised boobies.
Yeah,
that's sad.
she's got from
The
the
steering
steering wheel. Yeah, and
Across her boobs.
which is actually pretty. This is actually pretty good attention to detail, because they show the bruise starting to form, and faintly, immediately after the accident. So they're going to use this, and it was.
Yeah, it's like because she moves Sarah Gilbert over to the driver's seat.
Yeah.
So that and she even tries to play that off when the jig is up by saying, "Well, isn't that better for the insurance?"
Yeah, that's what she tells Tom Skerritt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he sees the
because
bruise,
he sees the boob,
which
but
has gotten worse on her boobs.
He did not see it when he was plowing her from behind when
No.
Sarah Gilbert caught them fucking in the living room.
No, he did not. That's the only real bit of nudity in this movie is Tom
Well,
Skerritt's ass.
Well, a side boob. There was some
that doesn't-
actual Drew
count-
Barrymore's side boob.
I don't count side boob though.
Well,
Not as nudity. It's almost nudity.
okay, but for a 16-year-old actress, that's
Well,
the
that's
best
pretty
you're
scandalous.
going to get.
Yeah, it's pretty scandalous.
It's going to be the best you're going to
It's
get.
pretty scandalous.
Again, she's contemporary with my age. Everybody, be cool.
Scandalous.
Be cool.
She-
Anyway,
she had already lived
Yeah.
the life of
she was already an adult by then.
of 3 16-year-olds.
Yeah.
By the
She
time
was, she was
shot
42
that scene.
years old by this point.
Yep.
So anyway, Sarah Gilbert actually had to escape the hospital, catch a ride on a bus with a goth band to
Yeah.
get home.
That was weird.
Yeah, and so basically, Tom Skerritt tries to go, like, after they've been caught, Sarah Gilbert runs off. Tom Skerritt goes to chase her, notices that Ivy's got the bruise now because he's seeing her from the front now.
So knows that she's lied about the car accident, but that's all he really knows.
Right, and so he's like, just stay here.
Yeah.
So Ivy goes back up to Cheryl Ladd's room, puts on some of her nightgown or a robe, and decides to stand at the edge of the balcony and just kind of soak in some of the rain.
Balcony's a real killer, man.
I know, right? This balcony is fucking treacherous.
Uh-huh.
So Sarah Gilbert
The house is going to be haunted as fuck.
slips back in. Oh, God, it's going to be haunted with Ivy.
Uh-huh.
It's going to be a sexy ghost.
Would that be a succubus?
Ooh, I could only hope. So anyway, so Sarah Gilbert goes in, and she thinks she sees her mom because she's kind of hallucinating because she's severely concussed
Yeah.
by almost going through the windshield of a Corvette. And so,
Have fun with that.
oh,
That's what the nurse tells Tom Skerritt
when he goes
her
to
daughter
visit-
almost dies in a car accident. He gets there. His daughter's got a concussion, is hallucinating. This is all from the nurse. And the nurse, in her parting words, says, "Have fun with that."
Yeah, it might have been the doctor, but that's even
Or
worse.
the doctor. Fucking
That's
either
even
way.
worse.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Have fun with that. So it's atrocious.
Yeah. Anyway, well, but he doesn't treat her any better when he sees her.
Have fun with that.
As I said when he leaves the room after getting into an argument
he's
with, I have not had fun with this.
No, this was not fun.
So anyway, so she sees what she thinks is her mom, and she tells the vision of her mom, the visage of her mom, that she loves her.
Yeah.
It's actually Ivy.
And then she sees.
She
that
says
it's
back, "I love you too,"
Oof.
and then starts making out with it. Slip number 2. Well, although she doesn't know what Sarah Gilbert's seeing.
True.
So she just thinks, "Oh my God, you love me too." Blah, blah, blah. Well, kiss you. Blah, blah.
No, she saw what she saw. She saw that she saw when they ran out. When she ran out when she saw daddy plowing him. I don't know.
No, what
are
I'm
you talking
saying is Ivy doesn't know that Sarah Gilbert thinks she's talking to her mom.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So
Sure.
So that's when she's like, "Oh, you crazy bitch."
Yeah.
It's like moms don't kiss like this, but then like Drew Barrymore's like, "But we could be a family. It's gonna be a weird family." It's cool though.
Moms don't kiss like this.
There's moms out there that kiss like this.
Snakes out here this big. Moms don't kiss like this.
So anyway, Sarah Gilbert tosses Ivy off the balcony.
Yep. Dead.
Dead.
And then
and that's a good death too, because her
Her
head
head
bounces
bounces.
against the fucking concrete.
and then it's the most peculiar.
yes. So
ending.
there's a little a stamp put on the end from the diary.
So from the diary, Sylvie reading from her diary, she starts, "I still think about her sometimes." You fucking think?
Yeah, she's
First
either
of
in
all,
counseling or in jail or both.
You probably think about her every fucking day. She killed your mom. And fucked
then
your
you
dad.
killed-
and then you
and
killed
then
her.
you
And then you
killed her.
killed her. Yeah. I'm pretty sure you're stuck with her forever.
Yeah, you might be seeing her.
But she still thinks about her sometimes. Yeah, okay. Then she says, she might have been more alone than I was. Okay.
fair Yeah,
Probably.
That's actually a deep thought.
Probably. And then she goes on to say, I loved her and I miss her. So Sylvie is still fucked up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the spin I would put on that is that she misses the idea of a friend that made her feel like that.
Right, but this Ivy wronged her in almost every way a person can wrong another person. Yeah. So, all right.
She's got problems.
But she still thinks about her sometimes.
I promise you, Tom Skerritt still thinks about her
Oh my God.
and misses her, misses that
I'm sure.
fucking that
Yeah.
that
Tom
lady kid.
Skerritt's lucky he's not in jail. Not the real Tom Skerritt, but
yeah, whatever his name was. We'll just call him EJ.
sure. That's good. We'll call
I
him,
don't even know why I said
we'll
that.
call him Dallas.
Dallas. So, yeah, because like Dallas, the first time he saw Drew Barrymore, he's like, sweet, statutory.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yep. Although, I have no reason to believe that Ivy lied about having an aunt that she lives with or anything like. I have no doubt to believe any of that, or I have no reason to believe any of that.
That's why they make Poison Ivy 3, right? So we hear about Ivy's home life
Maybe,
a little bit, slightly.
we'll get to that in a couple weeks.
Okay.
What do we got next week?
Well, obviously we have Poison Ivy 2.
What's the subtitle?
Is it
I'm quizzing you.
the next seduction?
No,
or
that's
the new seduction.
Seduction's 3.
3.
So 2.
Embrace of the Vampire. Poison Ivy 2. Embrace of the Vampire.
No, it's
What the-
Lily.
Is that all it says? That's the tagline?
Yeah, Lily. It's
Lily?
Poison Ivy 2, Lily.
So yeah,
Lily
there's
is our
There's
girl.
a plant theme,
Yep.
flower theme.
Yep.
I guess plant because Ivy's not a flower.
No.
Vines. It should have just done all vines. Could have had Merlot, Riesling,
Oh. Yeah, okay.
Vine.
Watermelon.
Pumpkin.
Pumpkin spice. It'd be some like basic white
That
bitch.
that should be the Poison Ivy 5 pumpkin spice. Yeah. Absolutely. Just basic.
All right, so that's next week, and it's going to get weird. I promise you. I'm already going to say it, so don't even say, wow, it got weird.
I think it's supposed to be the sexiest of the bunch,
It
right?
is.
Yeah.
I mean, at least in my book.
I mean, in Sexy September parlance, it should be the crown jewel of this year's Sexy September, I would think.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. It's the longest one.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah,
All
by
right.
15 minutes. Anyway, so where can people find our episodes?
Search for Film Seizure. We're called Film Seizure. I
don't
really
think people know
think that if people know how to use the Google box and
They'll find us?
and they type in Film Seizure into that search bar thingy, that they'll probably find us.
Well, you could also just do filmseizure.com.
Yep. That's the best way.
That's the best.
I mean, just
That's
find us
the
on
best.
filmseizure.com.
It's just the best.
And then from there, it'll take you to YouTube's and SoundClouds and all sorts of
And,
places of streaming.
Yep, we've got we're on the Google Play podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know when Apple. I mean, we're recording this at the end of June. I don't know when Apple is getting rid of iTunes. I mean, it's iTunes right now, but it's going to be Apple Podcasts in the future. It's one of those.
Yeah.
Whatever is still around.
We'll be there.
Yeah.
Hanging out,
Hanging out with our family.
smoking Dejarms, like Sarah Gilbert
Like Sarah Gilbert.
and Poison Ivy.
Something, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can find us there. Facebook, Twitter, at Film Seizure.
Yep.
Find us there.
Yes, indeed.
So, next week, Sexy September,
Continues.
Part 2, Volume 2, Volume 2, Part 2, Poison Ivy 2,
Yes.
Lily.
Lily. Join us. It's gonna, according to Jeff, get air quotes weird.
Yeah, man. Yeah. My pants are going to have
Oh
explosions.
Jesus! Send help, please, please. He's gonna. Yes, I don't know what he's gonna do. I'm the only warm body in the room right now. I'm afraid. I'm afraid.
No, I got something for that. Anyway. All right. So until next week, I am Jeff Arbuckle.
I am Jason Oliver, and you have been listening to Film Seizure.